Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
There is nothing to worry about. You're gonna be just fine.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Have you checked the children?
Stay on the road. Keep clear to the moors.
Beware the moon, lads.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
They're all gonna laugh at you! They're all gonna laugh at you! They're all gonna laugh at you!
Who's laughing now?
Who's laughing
now? It's the after movie diner and a month of October, and they're watching horror films. That's why they call it Horrotober. Yeah, it's the after movie diner in the month of October. They're watching horror films, that's why they call it Horrotober. A Horrotober. A Horrotober. A Horrotober. A Horrotober. A Horrotober. A Horrotober.
Hello. Hello.
The food we serve is as good as music of Chopin.
I like it. It's one of the worst Polish accents I've ever heard.
That's pretty good. Oh, barbecue French toast. That sounds really good.
What's wrong with that? Hello, dear listener.
Oh, he's going to do his Anthony Hopkins all the way through.
I cannot decide if I'm German or if I'm Welsh. Should go get some cheese on toast and then kill Dracula.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, sounds a bit like a plan to me.
Hello, I'm Dracula. Hello.
Sounds a bit like a plan to me, Gwyneth. Let's go do it. Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner in a less noisy diner. Although, of course, as I say that, it's probably about to burst into mad Polish music or something. Anyway, we are in the Little Poland restaurant across the road from the Village Cinema East, where we sued Francis Ford Coppola for making Dracula. And, or as I like to say, how many times can people pronounce Dracula in different ways?
Dracula.
There was lots of like Dracula, Dracula, Dracula. Yep. And if you play that backwards, I'm telling you to go fuck yourself. No, not really. Yeah.
Like.
So anyway, we just saw Francis Ford
Coppola's. Okay.
How do you pronounce his name, Jim?
Coppola.
Yeah, and how...
Hey, what's Kielbasi?
And how wrong are you?
I don't know. I've never met him.
Wrong.
So for all I know, I've got
Wronger
it right.
than Wrong Jock McWrong, winner of the wrongest competition in all of Wrongtown.
Right at the beginning of his career, right?
No.
Somebody said, "Oh, you must be Mr. Coppola." He went,
No.
"Yeah, that's right."
Nobody said
and
any of
that. Never corrected them because he was too shy.
No. Nobody ever
He's
said
waiting for some little-known podcast to finally set the record straight.
No.
And call him Coppola.
No. Kielbasi, by the way, is sausage.
Ooh, is it?
So they do, as you can see on the left-hand side, they do a sort of dinery breakfasty thing.
I think I'm going to get a sausage sandwich.
On the back, they do sandwiches, but They do amazing entrees as well.
Well, I think I'm just going to get a sausage sandwich.
So, this last Horrotober. Oh, it's Horrotober, laddie. The last Horrotober episode of the After Movie Diner is a double bill, or double bill, or of Dracula movies. And much like a load of old bollocks, there's two of them. Or is a load of old bollocks, would there be like a whole sack of bollocks?
It's more than two bollocks.
That's more than two bollocks.
Yeah.
So this is just...
a sack of old bollocks.
This is just two bollocks of Dracula.
In a sack.
In a sack.
Sack.
In a scrotum. This is a scrotum
Welcome to the
of
After Movie Scrotum.
Welcome to the After
Yes.
Movie... No.
Yes.
Because that would mean we were eating in a scrotum. It's more like the After Scrotum Diner.
Yes.
Hello and welcome to the last Horrotober episode of the After Scrotum Diner.
the After Movie Diner, and this week it's the After
Movie Diner, and this week we're doing a scrotum of Draculas.
Only,
a scrotum of Draculas, if you were,
two bollocks,
a ball bag of the undead. A ball bag of Dracula.
Or
I bet Dracula's ball bag is particularly shriveled.
What percentage of the spinning that Stoker presumably does in his grave
every time you watch either of these two films?
Well, no, because there's a lot of crap Draculas out there, right?
Right.
So what percentage of the spinning do you think these two take up? Of all the crap Draculas that have ever been made?
Of all the crapulas
that have ever been made, what do you think?
Okay, well, first of all, let's reveal the second film. So we're talking about
Dracula 2000,
or as it was called in the UK, cumbersomely Dracula 2001, because it came out a year later.
That is over here.
That is bollocks.
Over here, it's called Wes Craven Presents Dracula 2000.
Yeah, it was over there as well, but it was called 2001, which somewhat took the edge off it.
Yeah,
because it was meant to be like a hip Dracula for the new millennium, but in fact, it was just Gerard Butler with a perm and a flouncy shirt fucking around New Orleans big shave.
I still don't know what anybody looked at Gerard Butler and went, there he is. There's our Dracula.
Call off the search, lads. We found our Dracula.
This is the guy. Is it because, like, when you look at him side on, his upper lip is like been pushed out by his teeth, by his big teeth? They went, he looks like he's got big teeth. Dracula's got big teeth.
Do you know what? If what you're looking for is an actor with big teeth, Butler's your man. Either that or Willem Dafoe. I mean, take your pick.
But he already played Dracula as well.
Technically, he played the actor who played Nosferatu.
No, he was supposed to be Nosferatu.
No, I understand.
So he played Dracula.
Right. Sort of. He technically played Nosferatu.
All right.
Wow, they do half a roast chicken.
But Nosferatu was what's-his-face's version of the Dracula story that he could tell.
I understand.
I
understand.
Thank you very much.
Have you decided what you want?
I have. I don't know if I'm not sure if he has.
No, I'm still looking because I would love an enormous meal, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have a burger.
Do you need a few more minutes?
No, you go ahead, dude. You order and I know what I want. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get the kielbasi. That's a terrible pronunciation. I'm sorry. Omelette.
And what would you like?
To drink a cup of tea, English breakfast with milk.
And what do you want?
Oh, I see. What does it come with?
French fries, mashed potato, boiled potato, kasha.
Just you know what? Just toast is fine.
Just toast each one. White one.
Whole wheat.
Put the butter on it?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, and English tea?
Yes, please, yeah.
One check for both?
No, we're going to split it, right?
Yeah, we're going to split it.
We're going to split it, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Can I get the cheeseburger deluxe? Can I add bacon to that? Do you have some bacon?
Whatever.
Excellent, thank you. That's with French fries, right? And can I get, do you do like brown gravy, like a side of brown gravy? You don't have brown gravy? You have mushroom gravy? Sure. Could I just get a little tiny side of mushroom gravy just for the fries?
That sounds really good.
That'd be good. That's awesome. I'm good with water. Thank you so much. Yeah. So
where to even begin?
Where do we even
Where
begin?
to even begin?
We have.
Okay, I've got one big.
We have
point-
about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to
so
dissect.
let's just get started with the biggest problem of Bram Stoker's, of Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, right?
Right.
Not nearly enough Virgin Megastore promotion.
No.
Not nearly enough.
No. And
how
in
are you
fact,
supposed to tell a good Dracula story
if there wasn't a lot of
substantial
amount of
substantial about the Virgin Megastore?
Virgin Megastore.
It was initially, right?
Well,
I thought it was a joke.
I was glad that 8 years later, they would remedy that and put all the Virgin Megastore that was in the original novel back into the film direct.
Now that would have slowed
Dracula.
Stoker spinning down a wee bit.
It would have.
Thank God. Because initially, right, I thought it was a joke because she got up from the, from sleeping or whatever, wearing the Virgin Megastore staff T-shirt.
Yeah.
Which had like emblazoned on the front like Virgin. Yeah. And I thought, is that a gag? Because like somehow her virginity is going to be like a thing.
Yeah.
But then she went to work in the Virgin Megastore.
No. What you missed out there was you didn't realise that it was both a cumbersome metaphor and an enormous advertising push.
But okay. So
what I like is that Richard Branson was sat somewhere and he's going, well, there's lots of movies we could be involved in. What movie should we do? Should we maybe be in a Spielberg movie or something with some sort of like cachet? No, I tell you what, let's put all our money behind Dracula 2000.
So okay,
starring Johnny Lee, Sodding Miller.
Here's my question for you.
What's his name? Oh, is it Omar Epps?
Omar Epps.
Has he ever not been like eminently punchable in every? Like he is the most pretentious, overly wrought, like just abomination of film.
But
there are people worse. But
there are people worse in both these movies.
But anyway, wait. We should start with Francis.
I just want one
Francis. We should start with
Francis.
We should start with
Francis
Ford Coppola.
Francis. What's his Dracula got here, mate?
Bram Stoker's Dracula. Let's start with
that. You only get Oldman in that. Listen, right?
I'll tell you who he wants, and that's Francis.
Yeah, it's Oldman. Now, Oldman I get, right? Because Oldman really likes saying the word blood,
blood,
in a thick Transylvanian accent.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I've ever seen anybody say blood in a Transylvanian accent better than Oldman.
Than Gary.
Than
our Gary.
So, okay.
We're all over the shop here. Let's start.
All right, okay. Well, where we're going to start with? We'll start with
chronologically 1992. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So
Francis Ford Coppola.
Did you see it in the cinema?
Bram Stoker's Dracula. What, when it first came out?
Yeah.
No, I was 12, mate.
Okay, so I was 15, and I snuck in. Because the people I was supposed... Have I told you this?
Did you sneak in under the cover of dark?
So we went to Guildford.
Guildford, mate. Again, you're talking about Guildford.
Blood of Guildford.
It is in your veins,
It is in my veins. The poetry of Guildford runs through my veins.
The poetry of Guildford.
So I went to Guildford.
The Friary Centre.
And with the express intention of pretending to be 18,
right?
So we can go and see this movie. I don't know why this movie.
This movie, right? Whereas my first 18 in the cinema was in 1994 and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
a considerably
much better,
cooler
much
film
better.
to have gone to see.
Anyway, this was the one we went to. Don't ask me.
Right.
So I went with my friends.
Well, there is boobs in it.
And the idea was that my friends were going to get the ticket because I was the youngest looking one.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, we'll go in." I use the word friends loosely here.
Who are they? Do I know them?
Oh, just gits.
90s gits.
Gits that almost certainly work in banks now.
Yeah, probably.
Because everybody I went to school with works in a bank.
Yeah.
So the gits went in and they said, we'll come back out with your ticket. We'll buy your ticket, we'll bring it back out. I went, oh yeah, great idea. You look old enough, I don't. So you buy the ticket, bring it back out to me. Brilliant.
Was this the old Odeon up the top of the high street?
So about one opposite the White Horse.
Yeah.
So about 50 minutes went by, and I thought, they're not coming back, are they? Reason being, because they get. So...
Wait a minute. They bought tickets and just went in?
Yep.
And left you outside?
Yep. I told you gets. They were gets.
How many of them were there?
I don't know, 4, 5?
I mean, I don't like you very much, but even I want to punch them in the face.
Well, I told you they were gets, and that's why I don't see like any of them anymore.
I don't like feeling sorry for you. I do not like that feeling.
It's a creepy, wrong feeling.
Kind of
anyway, so the point is,
I'm only jesting.
I kind of walked into the cinema thinking, oh, maybe they're just waiting inside, which of course they were.
Right.
And I just kept going further and further into the cinema with literally nobody challenging me.
Yeah.
And then I just walked, because I think these were the days when people used to wait outside the cinema and check your tickets as you went in, rather than like at an entranceway to all the screens, and just wait outside the particular screens. So because the movie had started, there was nobody there, so I just walked in, and I found like a seat. I don't know, kind of. It was quite a big, massive cinema, wasn't it? It was a huge screen. I seem to remember. Anyway.
Well, it was old.
Yeah, it was old. So I did find like a little seat, kind of down the front in the corner kind of thing, and I remember being, quite blown away because it was a huge screen and I was quite close to it, and I was blown away by how it looked, and the drama of it, and I remember being really quite blown away by how cool it was and how memorable so much of it was, and all this imagery and all this stuff, and thinking that Hopkins was funny and it was violent and sexy and cool, and and I remember really liking it.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged all that well though.
No.
I mean, I still like the direction.
Right.
Mostly. I like the way it looks. I like the crazy, the stuff, the kind of overwrought, I don't know. Can it be Grand Guignol almost, like some of the stuff?
No, I mean the big bit where it pulls back from the bed and blood flies in from both sides. You would call that Grand Guignol, yeah.
But I meant more like the over the top.
No. That's just theatrical.
Okay, so over theatrical then. All right.
Grand Guignol specifically denotes a theatre in which vast amounts of gore took place.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I thought it was more of a kind of a theatrical horror.
No. It was known for its stage bloodletting.
All right, cool. Well, there's some of that, but all the stuff of like right at the end, when there's like the nonsensical chase, and the sun's
they're chasing
going
the
down.
sun down. You're like, what?
So I have one big question about Francis Ford Coppola's.
If you say Coppola again, I will hit you with a glass.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so my big question is, right, why did he add the bit in about? Of course, vampires can walk during the day.
Right.
Why is that there? Because that final chase scene, where the sun's going down and like the clouds are rolling across the front of it and the carriages are...
Well, he does say...
like a really exciting thing.
He does say that his powers are greatly diminished.
Right. But the point is, if that bit's not there, and he's just your usual, if the sun's up, he can't come out, and once
the
it's
sun's
down,
up, he's
you're
fucked.
fucked, right?
Yeah, right.
Then having them chase him down before the sun goes behind him is like a really dramatic thing, right? But that's gone, because it's like, well, he could, all right, maybe, well, not exactly what he can and can't do, other than use kind of... But the point is, like, why? Because there's nothing...
Yeah.
There's no plot to it. Other than that bit where, like, he's on the cinematograph thing, he meets Winona Ryder mostly, like, inside in the restaurant. There's that one bit where he sees her outside.
He also does meet her in that large black cavernous space that's full of candles.
Right. A very popular romantic destination in London. Yeah. But there's one scene...
the one that has a lot of fire restrictions, though.
So my point is, there's one scene where he bumps into her in the street and is like, hello, I am lost in your beautiful city. Please tell me the way or whatever.
Right.
And that's it. So Francis Ford Coppola has gone, I'm going to throw,
Also, by the way...
Yeah.
Instead of saying he can walk in the daylight, there is a better, more time-appropriate explanation. Why does he want to go to London? Forget her for a minute.
Right.
Because at that time, Victorian London, full of like smog, we're told in most vampire legends that it's direct sunlight, and therefore if the sky was full of like fog and emissions, smoke and whatever, then he could quite easily walk the streets of London.
I'm all down with that.
Plus, he's got the old top hat, long hair, and sunglasses.
Right.
So he's covered up. Like, he's pretty covered up. I mean, unless it's got
I'm with
of
you
his nose.
because that's quite cool, right? Sort of like the twist of Dracula 2000. It's quite cool, but to rewrite vampire lore for one scene,
right?
Where he's going like, oh, could you tell me the way to, whatever. It's like, but that could be done at night.
But that screams, right, but there's two things. The thing that you're picking up on.
Right.
And I don't want to labour the point, but I feel like it screams of studio interference. I think, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
clearly Coppola has taken the opportunity of going like, well...
Can you get more interference than you must cast Keanu Reeves of Winona Ryder?
Yes,
I feel like that's going to torpedo into the middle of your film right there.
Before I go into it all...
Okay.
Someone somewhere in a suit went, well, they have to have a meet cute. And then someone else went, yeah, there's not enough of a climax. All this, like, eternal love bollocks is a bit boring. How about a chase as the sun goes down and they're trying to kill him before it's nightfall? And Coppola's gone, but wait a minute, you want them to have a meet cute in the daytime? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. Nobody will remember by the time.
So you're thinking it's purely for, like, the trailers, so there could be a bit where they meet and they're like, they met in the bruh.
Right.
And if it's done, thank you very much.
No, a meet cute meaning...
Can I get milk? Thank you very much.
Meaning, literally, this is a movie in which Dracula bumps into Mina.
Right. So you're saying that he had very little control over a lot of the movie.
Otherwise,
Keanu Reeves.
Well, yeah. Otherwise,
surely Keanu Reeves buys you some goodwill, right?
No.
Thank you very much.
But what you have to look at, dude, is that 2/3 of the film.
As long as it's not Keanu Reeves.
We'll get into this in a minute.
Okay, right.
But 2/3 of the film,
right,
and all the directorial flourishes,
right,
at a certain point, are complete and utter bollocks. Now, hang on a second. I will give you that, like, the first act or first half of the act of the beginning of the movie, right? He's doing a whole bunch of stuff, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, that's kind of interesting, that's kind of da-da-da-da-da, right? But as it continues, and as it continues, and as it continues, right, especially into the vast swamp of nothingness that is the second act of this movie, in which stuff is happening, but none of it, like, all of it could be condensed, and it's essentially Coppola, like, masturbating all over the screen like a film student. It's like, oh, I've got a crank for the camera that, like, speeds it up and slows it down and speeds it up and slows it down. How about I do, like, 15 scenes that way? And, oh, wait a minute, how about if we have a scene where they're dancing, like, surrounded by a billion candles, but I film it on a Dutch angle? And how about, like, it goes on and on and on. When you have all that, like, when you've given Coppola the reins, as it were, and gone, you want slowed down footage, you want sped up footage, you want backward footage, you want Dutch angles, you want animation, you want all this stuff, have at it. We're going to ask for 2 things, apart from Keanu Reeves. We're going to ask for 3 things, Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. Meet cute, has to have a meet cute, even though it makes no sense, and chase at the end, because we have to end on some action, even though from the moment in your doctor's bedroom with Mina and Dracula, where, like, she gives herself to him completely, right up to the end, where she is his ultimate destruction and savior. That's the through line that Coppola seems to be actually interested in, is like this wrestle of love, lust, eternity, life, blood, all that stuff. All the good stuff that's sort of in the original novel. But along the way, he also has to make a Hollywood movie, and he also has to make his, I'm going to throw everything at the wall because I'm going to be a mad film student because now's my opportunity to do that, while at the same time trying to homage both Universal movies and Hammer horror films. And so it becomes this sort of, like, big, mad, soupy mess. I mean, the only other movie that kind of comes close to having this many mad camera effects is probably something like...
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much.
It's great,
and
the
mushroom gravy is coming. Yes,
look at that.
It's probably the only other film that comes close to something as mad as this is either, like, Evil Dead 2,
right,
which even that knows when to rein it in, to be honest, and a movie that doesn't quite know when to rein it in is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Right.
Like, this plays like Francis Ford Coppola's, Bram Stoker's, Dracula's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
So how come it had such a big effect on that? Like, I remember, like, at the time, it had, like, a, you know, it was a cultural touchstone kind of a thing.
Well, because it was a very, very starry cast.
Right.
Right. It was. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Wonderful.
It was a very, very starry cast. I don't quite know what Coppola had sort of done in the wilderness between his sort of 70s, early 80s stuff and this. Like, I don't know if this was some sort of like comeback for him. I don't know.
I don't know. Good question. Had he made like Jack at this point? Or was Jack after this?
Jack's after this.
I'm just wondering if like he did penance for, because supposedly a lot of these movies, Dracula and Jack, were so that he could make the film that he was going to make in 2001 before 9/11 happened about New York. I can't remember, but it's like one of those great lost movies. It's like the movie that Coppola did these films to make and they never got a chance to.
So it's a story cast. It's before Frankenstein, right? It's before Branagh does his Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that, and I feel like even the new Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, and probably even the new Mummy with Tom Cruise, although I haven't seen it, they all kind of suffer from the same sort of thing, and that is that they're all trying to have that like gothic drama and pomp and circumstance and madness and it's all really about angst and love and blood and life and dun dun dun. They're all trying to have that thing, but they
well, I guess it fits in the 90s,
but they don't
with grunge
true but they don't necessarily have the reason why the Hammer films work and the reason why the original Universal horrors work, and it's not just because they were like the first of their kind. It's because they have, the good ones anyway, have a bit of a like deft hand with it. Like they have a soft touch with it. It's not like, it's gothic and it's dramatic, but without a lot of like flim-flammery and bullshit. Like it's just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I know what you mean,
you don't
yeah.
have to have the camera whipping all over the place and stuff and fucking his eyes appearing in the sky and fucking every 5 minutes.
But I quite like all that.
No, I know.
Because I'm not sure, because okay, here's my thing.
I quite like it too, but it's a bit like what we had with Suspiria. Like it's a bit Argento influence in the sense that, yeah, it's all very pretty and everything, but ultimately amounts to bollocks all.
Yeah, well, okay, look, that's fair, but I think that's my point, is that at the heart of it, if it's a story between, a 6-foot satanic bat and Winona Ryder with an English accent, then you throw all the special effects you want at me, because frankly the thing in the middle of it, which is a love triangle between a satanic bat, Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, is like the least thought out thing ever. So by all means you stick Albin's face in the sky. I mean, how many nice dissolves were there in this?
Fuck, this went on.
In this one, on. So every time it happened, I was like, "Oh, that's me." I did think in my head, "Oh, nice dissolves."
But no, it's one of those things where
this is so good. I feel like this really did just get. I know, like everything just gets cooked, but sometimes I feel like that came out awful fast. Do you know what I mean? For food.
Whereas this is so hot I can barely pick it up. It clearly just got made. And this mushroom soup's amazing if you want to dip your toast in it.
No, I might
have a fry or whatever.
The fucking omelets amazing.
But, no, I would say that this and Dracula 2000 kind of suffered from the same problem to some extent. Mm-hmm. In terms of the story, in terms of like the script's intentions, not in terms of execution,
right?
But in terms of the script's intentions, there are clearly things,
right,
in Bram Stoker's Dracula,
right, that
like has really strong, decent, well-written intentions.
Yeah.
And aside from the casting, the examination and the unfurling of the story, although it certainly fucking drags in places.
But what's weird is it drags in some places and then speeds at the...
Right. Because there's a whole sway. I mean, Coppola is not interested in that last chase at all. He is not interested
He's interested
in
the
that last
sun,
chase at all.
which may be why I like that bit so much. The clouds rolling over the sun he was interested in, because that looked cool, but the chase was, nonsense.
I feel like it's a noble but highly flawed effort. Like, I think
it was scuppered by the casting.
I think, well, no, but it's also, yes, it is scuppered by the casting. Especially Sadie
But
Frost.
I mean, like, beyond repair.
No, especially Sadie Frost. But we'll get...
Sadie Frost is nowhere near the worst thing in the movie.
No, she is hands down the worst thing in the movie. Yeah.
Right.
Hang on, we're not going down that tangent.
Right.
I'm sorry though, the other person that scuppers this film is Coppola himself. Because it's a bit like when I watched, what's the one everyone loves that I fucking hate? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, right? So, I'm watching that movie, right?
Right.
And I'm getting it, and I'm like, all right, I understand, yeah. I get the, like, message and metaphor of blah, 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 blah. And it kept having all these effects in it. And it kept having all this stuff in it, and I'm like, when's he gonna, like, wake up and the story's gonna continue, right? And then there was more effects and more effects and more effects, and I was like, yeah, no, I get it. I really get it. Like, I understand the whole point of what you're doing, and da-da-da-da-da. When's he going to wake up and the story's going to start? And then the end credits roll. And I was like, what? What a load of bollocks. Like, it really frustrates me. No, I'm not, I don't want to debate that film. I'm just saying that my experience with Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula was very much the same.
Right.
In other words, the opening starts, right? And I'm like, I'm with this.
Yeah.
I'm actually with this.
Yeah.
Keanu's not bothering me too much. I mean, he's bothering me, but not too much.
No, I agree. I'm with you on that one, yeah.
Right? And you've got Eyes in the Sky, and it's theatrical, and he's using back projection, and he's using some animation, and he's using some interesting design elements, and da-da-da-da-da. But basically the story's moving along, and I'm like, I'm with this. I'm actually with this. Then there's that awful scene between Winona Ryder and Sadie Frost when you first meet the two of them at the stately home, and they're like being giggly girls, and I just I just want to burn the film. I just want to burn it. It's the worst. Like when all the men show up and she's like, oh, isn't it big? And I just want to set fire to it and take craps on it. It's so annoying. Then it goes back to in the castle, and they've got the shadow play and stuff. I'm like, all right, we're back in a Transylvanian castle. I'm coping with this. This is good. Da, 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 da. Weird effect here, weird effect there. Da, 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 da. And then, from the moment Keanu Reeves goes into the den of the three Dracula brides, right? Dracula shows up with a baby and feeds him to him, and he starts laughing manically and da 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 da. And then it fades out. First of multiple fades out. And it literally fades out like a Warner Brothers cartoon, like in a circle of him like laughing manically. And I'm like, all right. I just expected eating a baby is fun. Anyway, at that point is where it loses me, because from that moment on, it's all just, here's an effect. Oh, whoops, let's have a meet cute. I mean, why is Dracula having a meet cute? Like, fuck off. Then it's, more effects. Anthony Hopkins shows up, and like you, I had this sort of fantastic memory that he somehow like waltzes in halfway through and sort of saves the movie. But he doesn't, because while it's quite fun what he's doing, it's also like horribly misjudged, and actually ends up derailing the movie rather than saving it. I thought he swung in with a lot of bravado and like kind of saved it as this sort of scene chomping Van Helsing. He's awful.
No, he's all over the place.
He can't decide if he's doing a German accent or a bloody Welsh one. And he keeps saying things like, she's going to be raped by the hounds of hell. And I'm like, who are you? Fucking Richard Burton reading Undermilk Wood? Like, get on with it, Hopkins. And then from that moment on, I can't help but think that a studio editor came into being, because suddenly from then on, the scenes become like incredibly choppy and edited in a whole fucking slapdash manner. I mean, even at 2 hours 20 or whatever the length of this movie is, it feels like vast chunks or pacing was sort of fucked with in the movie.
That makes sense. It does get good, and then he comes, he goes, his plans aren't clear. It's actually, if I may neatly transition here into Dracula 2000, that's actually the thing that scuppers Dracula 2000, is that the whole purpose of the central thing at the beginning, in the middle of the movie, which is what's her face, Blandy McHatson. Like Dracula's trying to get to her, and Lee Miller's trying to save her, and Plummer's trying to like reconnect with her, and she's nothing. She's just like a pile of shoes, you know.
She's just a Virgin Megastore T-shirt.
Yeah, right. A Virgin Megastore T-shirt left on a pile of old shoes.
What I like about it is that the most her IMDb profile can say is that she's often confused with Natasha Gregson.
Because she does a bit like
Wagner, is it?
Yeah.
Natasha Gregson Wagner.
Natasha Gregson Warner.
No, because she's Robert Wagner's daughter.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought Gregson Warner.
So I'm like, this is an actress in Dracula 2000 who we couldn't afford Natasha Gregson Wagner.
She was, anyway, but the point about that one is that, okay, if I may make a small confession here, I quite enjoyed Dracula 2000. I did. I wasn't expecting to, for obvious reasons, but it was quite fun. I didn't mind Lee Miller. I didn't mind Plummer. Until he started talking, I didn't mind Butler. I sort of got it. I even like Fillion turning up, being like, even then I'm going, this guy's woefully miscast. You're going for kind of like moody priest, and you've gotten like tall space cowboy, but wearing a priest. He looks like he's undercover, an undercover space cowboy. Even anyway.
But hang on. Let us finish up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that the same things happen in Dracula 2000, where everything that the movie is about is like not interesting ultimately, and everything else is happening, even if it's quite well done in a kind of a fun, breezy way, which I think is what's going on in Dracula 2000. Ultimately, it's all circling around this black hole in the middle of the film, and the black hole in the middle of Coppola's Dracula is, and there's no getting around this. You can be as annoyed with Sadie Frost as you like, and you can even be as annoyed with Coppola's effects as you like. But the truth is, the whole movie, everybody in it revolves around Winona Ryder, and she is, you know, and she's not that she's shocking. She just, whatever it is that Winona Ryder can do, this isn't it. That's my problem.
I also think this.
Okay. Can I have a check?
That
mushroom gravy.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll turn it this way. I think this. You can write a gothic romance.
Yeah. Bits of it were genuinely quite sexy.
You can write a gothic romance.
I don't normally describe things as quite sexy.
No, right. Well, there were norks in it, is what you're saying.
No. I mean the bit specifically between
what?
Dracula and Winona Ryder in the bed where she drank his blood. I thought that was quite sexy.
What exactly was Sadie Frost's audition for this movie? Was it really like, pop your top off, love, and give us a bit of writhing? Could you writhe? What's your writhing like? And then she probably writhed and they went, it's pretty off-putting. Writhing is pretty off-putting.
Can I just say this, in her defence, right? Defence,
there is no defending her. She is the worst.
In her defence, I know people who think of her, or thought at the time, that she was extremely attractive. And I remember when I was a teenager watching it, finding her extremely attractive.
But she's attractive until you consider any aspect of her personality or acting.
I agree, but that's not what she's, you know.
No, but okay. But we were talking about this before, about like sex appeal, right?
Right, okay, yeah.
And about like star quality, right?
Right.
You can be as attractive as you like. You can whip your norks out at every writhing opportunity that a wolf is trying to get in your drawers, love. But you either have sex appeal, or you're an annoying, whiny-voiced, writhing, breathy tit who I just want to...
Okay, so then my argument would be against that, although I think you're totally right. The argument would be that the reason I enjoy watching Dracula, Coppola's Dracula, is that it looks interesting. Yeah. There's always something going on, and I enjoy watching it. That's it.
I'll give you that.
So, the bits with Sadie Frost in them,
oh god,
right?
She's awful.
If you just, she looks right. and the things that are happening, she fits in them in that place. At least and I'm not in this viewing, granted. I wasn't particularly attracted to her and she wasn't very sexy. But my memory, like her like red hair and her running through the maze and that red thing.
I get it.
Like I remember that from being 15 and thinking it was really sexy.
I'm not debating that.
So things that you thought, I'm not saying that things that you think were sexy when you're 15 are necessarily good, but for them to last and to make an impact when you're 15 absolutely everything is sexy, right? To have some bird running through a maze in the rain in a bit of red cloth is not like necessarily like even in the top 500 sexiest things I saw that day, and yet
wasn't that also like a Scottish Widows insurance firm advert?
Well, I remember thinking that was quite sexy too. Leaving my psyche, my disease psyche aside.
No, listen, all right. So let me just explain. I get it.
Explain that she's bad.
No, I get it. I understand.
I'm defending.
Hang on. She's very attractive, right? And the way she is filmed, running about and writhing, is interesting, right? No problem with that.
Right.
It's everything else. It's everything else.
No, I agree.
And that girly, giggly thing, which might have in the early 90s been like, oh, isn't this... But like, we're meant to believe that Dracula has like crossed generations and whatever for this woman.
Winona Ryder.
And we find her giggling childishly and confused over like some Arabian Nights book, which by the way is, I mean, first of all, it's not in the original novel, like, so why is that even in there? And secondly, it's like, who wrote that scene and went, yeah, let's put that in a film? Like,
but my defense of that particular scene that you're talking about is that I do think that the whole her being away from Thingamajig, right, from Harker, they're not married yet, which means she is going to be a virgin and he's going to be a virgin, and they've got no idea what fucking is, right? That's what that. So the whole point is that when Dracula turns up,
I know why.
No. But I'm just saying that you have to. Look, I agree with you. It's a terrible scene and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't. But it works in the sense that the reason it's that later scene when Winona and Olben are on the bed, right, and they're doing their thing. That is very sexy, and part of the reason it's very sexy is because that's the closest she's come to to porking. Up to that point.
I understand.
So it did its job, it just didn't do it very well. Or whether it did do it well, it just... Part of it... Okay, look.
I understand why it's in the film.
No, I know, but listen. What I'm saying is...
I'm saying that it's poorly written, and there are other ways to do it, and the fact that she was like a virginal novice was already implicit, and didn't need to be rammed home by a scene of her and fucking Sadie fucking Frost giggling like children over a picture of a knob.
I agree it could have been done better, right? But any scene in a movie has to do two things. One, it has to like fit into like the wider whatever,
right,
so that later things make sense, and preferably it has to work on its own as well.
Right.
So for example, like the meet cute,
I get it. All right,
that's what I'm saying.
It's just badly done. I get it.
I agree. It's a terrible scene. I'm just saying there's a reason why it's there. It's just now there's too much. The other thing that surprised me about when I was watching it again is just, exactly like you're saying.
How good Tom Waits is in it. Like, he is the best thing in it.
He is the best thing in it. But a couple of things surprised me. One, I remember not being that impressed with Olben when I first saw it. I remember thinking, yeah, whatever. But actually, he's really good. He's maybe the only thing in it that's really interesting and like stuff's going on, and he's having fun while at the same time being kind of soulful, and he's carrying off like a bunch of different characters, and he's acting beneath loads of aesthetic makeup and still making it work. So he's great, whereas Hopkins was not. But mostly, I remember there being a story. Like I remember there being like some like gothic touches to it or whatever. But there was a story that I was invested in and I cared about, and eventually they like confronted him and there was but it was there. But this, watching it again, I was so overwhelmed by all of the the bollocks.
Yeah.
But the story it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, most of the things that the people do in the movie don't make sense.
This is what I was going to say earlier. And it's been a long time since I read the novel, but my recollection is you can describe in passages of a book inexperience, lust, longing, wanton desire, violence, death. You can describe people's inner monologues, right? You know, in this one, they try and fill it in with all the like diary writing and all that
which
kind
is
of back and forth.
Which is so clumsy.
Completely. But I think that's, as I say, my recollection of the book is that a lot of that monologuing is written in sort of gothically romantic prose about the three main protagonists and all their feelings, longings, things being awoken in them, and you can pull that off more successfully in sort of long, sweeping, poetic prose than you can on screen with the actors that he has. I think better actors could sell it without needing all the crap.
Right.
And I also think if Coppola stepped back a bit and went, all right, I won't have 15 things going on in this scene, I'll just tell the story. It's a bit like another thing that was sort of glaringly obvious to me, I think, watching this one, is that because this comes 40 years into, or even 50 years into the cinematic telling of this story, certain people, like especially the Van Helsing background, like at one point he's introduced as like, oh, he was my mentor and he was a physician and he was like also...
Yeah, that was weird.
He's also
right?
into all this stuff. And then next thing we know, he's got a book on vampires and he's saying, I've been hunting him my whole life. And I'm like, how can you have been hunting him his whole life? He's been in the castle. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of that was just kind of like, well, we don't need to explain this because everyone knows about vampires and Van Helsing, so off we go. Just have him show up in a tweed jacket and ballyhoo about a bunch of crap and let's go on with it. Like, it was just, like, there was no...
No, you're right. It was very strange.
And the conscious decision Anthony Hopkins is like, how big of an asshole can I make Van Helsing? Like, he was just a sort of sociopathic arsehole. He didn't care about people's feelings.
No,
he didn't care about what was going on. He didn't care about the romance or anything like that. He was just on some wild high adventure where maybe he was going to bag himself Dracula, if he was lucky.
But it didn't even seem to be... I mean, like, you're right. That was at least a part of it. But a lot of it was also... that he... They were my memory of it is it was supposed to be like, oh, he's like so matter of fact about it, and he's, you know, sucking all. Everybody's like swooning and freaking out, and he's the only one going, no, let's quit swooning and let's get on with it. Which is quite that's a Van Helsing I can get on board with. Like that's kind of a Cushingy Van Helsing. Like I don't have, you know, a lot of emotions. It's just, you know, come on, let's get on with it.
Cushing was never rude about it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But
he never went, oh, well, I chopped her head off. Like, he was
that's
never
my point. But Van Helsing was
never flippant.
But right. It was matter of fact about it. You know, that kind of like scientific. You know, this is all about let's defeat ghost stories with science. Let's defeat, you know, the past with the future, kind of a thing. It was neat and it worked thematically, and it was a great character, because there's nothing better than you know, a bunch of, you know, two-dimensional pretty people, you know, fainting about, oh, the love and pain and the agony, and someone coming and going, right, come on, pull yourselves together, we've got a vampire to kill. You know, that's a good character. And my memory of that of Hopkins was that guy. But he, like you say, he pushes it into like, he's like autistic. He's like House. You know, he's like House MD as Van Helsing. It's like, I'll be real. Which again, that's not a bad character, but then your film has to be about that guy.
Right.
So that you can give a shit about, well, why is he like this, and what's his ultimate motivation, and what's his end game, and where's this all leading. But if he just like turns up to like, hey, he's going to mix things up a bit because everybody I've hired is unspeakably bland except for Waits, and he's in a prison cell.
Right.
Then it's just like you're saying, he's just like another effect. You know what I mean? He's another bit of flash on the screen that doesn't really make any sense.
Completely. You know, and it's very wishy-washy in its vampire mythology, and it's very wishy-washy in its like, oh, I can make a ring of fire and protect her. Like it's
on
all,
the snow.
Right, it's just all nonsense. So, but
You okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was delicious. Thank you.
It was really, really good.
It's a frustrating film because there are many aspects of it that even this time round I do genuinely enjoy.
Agreed.
And funny enough, I was listening to my friend Brad Gullickson's In the Mouth of Darkness podcast, which I would strongly suggest everyone listen to. And he was talking about like Oldman's armor at the beginning of the movie and stuff like that. That's like, there's some really nice design elements and little touches in it that you're like, I genuinely haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
All the people being impaled in silhouette and seeing like there was some really like nice stuff being done, and then like Coppola just can't help himself. He just can't fucking rein himself in. Like you can start a movie that way, and even maybe end a movie that way, and maybe have a couple of set pieces in the middle where there's some flim-flammery. But the whole film can't be constant bang, crash, wallop, flim-flammery. Like you have to have a moment where like you're telling the story.
But I feel like so much of it is to make up. You've got a film, right? You've got a script, and you've got, you know, your locations. You've got some idea of what it is that you want to do, right? And no, wait. So this is what you've got, right? You're Coppola, and this is what you've got. And then you go, okay, well, this is the film I want to make. These are the locations. This is how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost X amount. And the studio go, all right, we'll give you that, but you have to cast Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves. And he goes, are you fucking kidding? Neither of them can act. At least give me one of them who can act. But neither of them are English. Right. Neither of them can act. I can't believe that people who can't act for toffee putting on an accent is going to be better. It is not. So at that point, there you are.
Who's around in the early 90s that could have legitimately played it?
Oh, fuck.
You know who should have done it?
What?
Tim Roth.
It should have been. Roth is...
Harker, come on.
He's too old.
Not back then he wasn't.
He was the same age as Oldman.
Right, and Oldman is under makeup even when he's meant to be young Dracula. Like, at the time, they were fairly young, dude. This is only a couple of years after Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Roth is young in like, mid-80s. You know, they need, like, naive. Roth looks like he's had his face kicked in by life, even at that point, for a good 10 years.
This is only a year after Reservoir Dogs. Roth's pretty young in that.
No, I'm not saying, like, age. I'm saying in his face, he looks old, and you need, like, a naive kid.
I can always go for Roth and Oldman.
I'm not going to deny that would have been amazing, obviously, but I'm just saying. So, back to my point.
Also,
is that,
a bit of a Cockney Harker. I could have gone for that.
Sure,
as well.
but look, Coppola, right? He's got his film, and he's got his locations, and he all of a sudden he really wants to make it.
Right.
And then he's told, you've got to make it Ryder and Reeves.
Yeah.
And then you'll get your money. Now at that point, he has two choices. Either I make a shit film, because make no bones about it, whatever film he wanted to make at the beginning, with Reeves and Ryder, it's going to be shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be long takes. So then your choice is, how the fuck am I going to make a film that's you know, entertaining and watchable for 2 hours with these divs in the middle of it? The answer is, I have to distract from their divviness. In as many ways as I can conceive of. And I think that's why it's a mess. That's why the way it looks. Because there's no way he like discovered they were crap in the edit. Do you know what I mean? He knew they were going to be garbage. But they're his lead characters.
I don't know. You
can't make a good film with garbage actors in the lead roles. It can't be done.
Yeah. Well, look, you could have cast anyone other than...
No, but that's my point, is that he couldn't cast anybody.
Hang on a second.
The gravy was delicious. Thank you.
It was delicious. Okay, I agree he got, like, thrusted Reeves and Ryder.
Thrusted right up.
He did not get
right
thrusted.
Up the Reeves hole.
He did not get thrusted Sadie Frost, but he went ahead and...
Oh, she's a minor character.
No, she stinks up the joint. He didn't get thrust that guy who plays the Texan, Okay, so this is my other point, and this is my last point because we've really got to get onto the second movie.
Right.
Well, my last point is the script is schizophrenic as all get out. Like the opening bits where Harker and Dracula are in the castle and they're like backing back and forth and da 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 da. The script's like fairly strong. Like Oldman's being given some shit to say. Then we get that scene with Frost and Ryder, which is like abysmally written, right? Then we get some, like, I think the Anthony Hopkins stuff is like pretty well written, although the bit where we're introduced to Van Helsing is like, oh, he's a droll physics, he's a droll like biology teacher who like comes up with pithy quips about venereal diseases is a little odd, but all right. It's at least written in a way that Hopkins can perform it. But then we go back to like, oh, this is a guy from Texas. And as far as I'm concerned, the writer has just gone, well, we're just going to like fill... First of all, the guy from Texas, why is he even in the movie? Secondly, the guy from Texas is just given these like horrible, hoary cliches to say about like bucking horses and, you know, you're an old... whatever. I don't know, but he just says like a whole bunch of stuff where he might as well have been going like yeehaw Dolly Parton, whoops Dixie. Like, I mean, it really was awful.
But again, I would, and we should be able to drag it out. But I would just say my defence, even of that is, you can't. I think he's like. If two of my I can focus on Dracula, that's fine because he's.
I just think laying all the blame at their feet is not completely the whole story.
No, I'm not laying the blame at their feet. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think it's a question of blame. I'm saying it's a question of understanding. And what I'm saying is that Oldman is essentially a special effect, right? Dracula, he's young, he's old, he's a bat, he's this, he's that, whatever, right?
He's a bunch of mice.
right. But he's an effect. So it's, Coppola can like fuck around with him. But if your two main characters, the woman that Dracula is, the whole movie is being fought over, and the guy who's supposed to be like Dracula's nemesis, are two of possibly the worst actors ever to have come out of Hollywood. Reeves can at least do Surfer Bar quite well, right? He can do Surfer Douchebag quite well. But Ryder has never done anything.
Well, that's the other mistake.
Well, except look good.
Is that at the beginning, Jonathan Harker, first of all, Reeves still has his Bill and Ted hair, which is a big mistake. And secondly, the whole first act of the movie, he's walking around in a white shirt and a waistcoat, which is basically what he wears as in Bill and Ted anyway. So he might as well be like Jonathan,
Bill
and
Ted.
Thing,
right? Either you lean into that, you can't, because you've written a film about the battle between good and evil and love, and it's a battle between good and evil, where good is being played by Keanu Reeves with a terrible accent, and a film about eternal love, where the eternal love, the thing that you have defied God for, that you have lived forever, that you have turned yourself into a giant satanic bat for, is with the worst actress possibly ever to act. So it's tough. So I'm saying everything, and I include the Texas Cup. He doesn't care about any of it, because I think there comes a point where you have to go, well, if those two are going to be that bad, and they are that bad, then I have to just forget about the actors. I have to forget about the people and just make about everything else. And so everything that the actors do.
But I've got one example. I've got one example.
Right.
And there's multiple in the film, but I have one example of where it's also Coppola's fault.
Okay.
And this is my one example.
Okay.
In a film about Dracula, where he gets angry or wanders through fields or passes windows or whatever it is, how many stop motion and or swipe effects do you need to denote roses withering? How many in a film? Like
I like the roses withering.
One or two, right? You don't need 15 or however many there are.
There were like 3, but I liked all of them.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that shows where, like, we got the idea the first time, like, we don't need to keep seeing it. And it's a bit like, I remember when this first came out and I first watched it, I remember being like, oh yeah, all that shadow stuff at the beginning, it's really great that he's doing that in camera, and it's really interesting and funny and kind of cool and quirky stuff. And this time around, I'm like, wait a minute, every single shot is going to have like a quirky little shadow play. Like at a certain point, you're like, if there was just 1 or 2 little shadow gags in it, it would be so much more effective than every single time.
But I agree, but like, you're not disputing my central point.
No.
Everything he's doing is distracting from the fact that the two things that his movie is supposed to rest on are not there.
Right.
They are absent.
So, with that, let us quickly, in the next 20 minutes, talk about Dracula 2000.
Okay, well, I quite enjoyed it.
Okay, so my quick capsule review was, it's a load of bollocks. I came to it, hang on a second, when it first came out, I watched it, and I remember thinking Christopher Plummer as Van Helsing, that actually kind of works, I like that. And then I also kind of like the whole bunch of Americans break into Van Helsing's vault and unleash evil on the what a bunch of stupid assholes. That's kind of fun idea, right? And then I like the whole New Orleans thing and the whole twist that is Judas Iscariot and all that. I think my late teens, early 20s self kind of watched it and went, yeah, all right, I get it. So I think I've seen it once back then,
right?
Maybe bits of it since then. I don't think I've done a full sit-down rewatch since then.
Right.
And sitting down to rewatch it this time, I was hoping, and this was maybe where I was wrong, because I went into this going, this could be one of those little undiscovered sort of mad 90s gems that I remember quite fondly. Probably isn't as bad as everyone says it is online and on Rotten Tomatoes and everywhere else, on IMDb and stuff, where it gets appallingly low mark. And maybe there's something to it, because I remember kind of enjoying it. And maybe it's one of those that when I rewatch it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun and bonkers and weird and cool and da-da-da-da. But it isn't. It isn't in any way at all. Everything, first of all, it's the most 90s, considering it's called Dracula 2000. I understand the 90s bleed into the early 2000s.
Well, it was made in 99.
I get it. I understand the way everything, for example, everything you think about the 60s is all late 60s. When people talk about the 60s, whereas the early 60s are more like what everyone talks about the 50s, because decades tend to bleed. They don't really become the decade.
70s is more late 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I understand that totally, but it is all it's all shockingly reminiscent of just how awful the 90s were. That's the first thing. Secondly, the Virgin Megastore stuff is laughable. It is just
in your opinion, what's the worst? Because for me, there's two scenes that tie for the worst product placement in it.
Oh, I don't even though it is product placement, I don't even consider it's just an incredibly poor decision by someone. It's
got to be the van, isn't it?
The van?
When they have a fight in front of the van.
Oh,
for no reason at all, the van's got a giant Virgin symbol on the side.
They are meant to be in the
I get that, but
loading dock of the Virgin Megastore.
I get that, but it's so weird. It's so obvious.
Well, do you know what's also so weird is about 2 years after this movie came out, I actually worked in a Virgin Megastore.
That's not that weird, is it?
In the sense that I do remember, vividly what the loading docks looked like and whatever. And it was weird that even though this was set in New Orleans, it looked very familiar to me. I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is.
The blood of Guildford runs everywhere. Man.
The blood of... No, I worked in the Virgin Megastore in Exeter.
Oh, wow. All right.
But no, so...
Well, actually, wait, very quickly, my favourite bit of product placement is when Dracula first walks into the Virgin Megastore and all the women are, looking at CDs.
Oh, it's so...
And every woman looks around at him wow, what a hot guy. And the blatant thing is, you should walk into a Virgin Megastore. It's full of hot chicks that will want to have sex with you. You can't... How's that selling? Right.
I mean,
nobody thinks of that in a CD store, do they?
I don't think. First of all, if you're going to set, someone sat down and wrote a half-decent script.
Yes.
Which had an idea in it. It had enough elements of the original Dracula story. Yep. It had a plausible and fun way of keeping Van Helsing alive. The whole using Dracula's blood siphoned through leeches to kind of keep himself alive, so that if Dracula ever got loose again.
Right.
I love all that. That's great. Christopher Plummer, really well cast as the role. I can't think of another old doddery guy, because Helsing has to be an old doddery guy. There's one mistake, not enough tweed. He should wear way more tweed than he wears.
But tweed hat.
But
a cape.
A cape. But very good nonetheless. it has the nice like wrap around Judas Iscariot, silver crosses, all that kind of stuff. Totally down with that. Although it does lead to the most hilarious reveal in a movie ever, which is when the camera is meant to be panning in to the Last Supper, and Butler, in the most ridiculously bad glue-on beard, turns around to the camera as if he turns to the camera like Paul Whitehouse used to in that, "Oh hello, you've caught me here in the girls' dormitory," you know that character?
Yeah.
The third Duke of Windham, or whatever his name was.
Me,
the third Duke of Windham, here, in the ladies' dormitory. Like, Butler literally turns around and goes, like,
me, Judas Iscariot.
In a glue-on beard.
Me, Dracula, the Last Supper.
It looked like out of a Far Show sketch. That's what it looked like.
Okay.
And it was...
Hello, it's the nearly departed Michael Winner here. Just telling everybody to listen to the After Movie Diner, to go over to the website at aftermoviediner.com to do all their purchases through Amazon.com, dear boy, by clicking on the banner that's on the website of aftermoviediner.com. Please do that. That would be absolutely marvellous. Anything else? Well, you can always support us, I suppose, over at patreon.com, patreon.com/aftermoviediner, my dear boy. So yeah, that's all possible. I do hope you're enjoying this episode. I am going to now put up an advert or two and then back to the show. This doesn't pay for itself.
What's up, guys? Be sure to check out Now That I'm Older on the Rogue Intel Podcast Network. Me and Kenny sit down and talk about how getting older sucks, but can be awesome at the exact same time. We also look at pop culture, review a few movies, share some personal stories, and just basically poke fun at the world around us. Be sure to check out Now That I'm Older on the Rogue Intel Podcast Network.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth Podcast.
This podcast takes no shortcut in producing outstanding content. How they haven't become more widely recognized is beyond me.
I love this show. Smart commentary, in-depth interviews, and great production.
It's obvious how serious these guys take their podcast and bring that next level of professionalism that anyone would be hard-pressed to match.
The Projection Booth Podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
Anyone who listens to the show knows that I'm not someone who watches movies ironically or watches movies from a place of on high where I just deride them, even though I couldn't do any better. But there were points in this movie where I openly guffawed because I'd completely forgotten how utterly overblown and bollocks, like not even overblown in a fun like 90s way, but overblown in a way like someone put a camera down and went, this is gold, mate. Like what we're getting here, I know, forget thinking it was gold. Someone put the camera down and went, how about when we, even though everyone knows Judas Iscariot and they've figured it out and it fucking, that twist is seen a mile off. Once it happens, how about we zoom into the Last Supper? And as we do, Gerard, if you could just like slyly look around at the camera, could you do that for me? Oh wait a minute, no, you can't do that because you have absolutely no talent or ability at this point. But okay, like the Christopher Plummer is a bit of a shining light in it, and weirdly enough, I like the fact that Johnny Lee Miller is playing the whole role as if his brain is screaming, I'm sorry, what the fuck is going on? Like, he's playing the whole role that way.
I liked him,
and I quite liked him in it.
Yeah.
Now, it may be the fact that I'm seeing this with hindsight, having watched him in Elementary and really liked him in Elementary.
Yeah.
Because we always claimed up until Elementary that his only good role was Trainspotting. But like, I really like Elementary, you really like Elementary. And there were moments in this where where he was like, what the bloody hell is going on? Like, I really liked it.
Yeah.
I did really like that. But first of all, it's all too brightly lit. Secondly, all the like floating in the air, having sex,
floating pork,
like
zero gravity.
I know
pork.
what you're saying about the bland woman, because she is Jessica Bland from Blandtown. However, Butler is the biggest problem with this.
Come on, what is wrong with an obviously Scottish Dracula? It's what I mean. He's fine up until he speaks, and you go, I think he's trying to do his job, but at some point he just stops bothering, and he's just Butler being Scottish.
But even before Butler comes in,
with his like weird teeth and his mad hair and his Scottish accent, everything about him is 100% incongruous. Do you know what I mean? None of it makes any sense.
No, nothing at all. How about we have you in a flousy, blousy shirt and you walk around the place with it undone with your weirdly pasty, pale and hairless body underneath it. Like, I can't imagine many women, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. I can't imagine many women watch this and go, yeah, I'd love to get my hands on that guy. He looks a bit like a corpse. And this is after he's meant to look like a corpse. This is when he's meant to look like a red-blooded male. So the heist bit, like the heist bit at the beginning, was another thing that had me just fucking chortling. The old, at this point, hokey fucking cliche of the guy who just like slides in and is able to make a computer do whatever he wants. And he's all just like tap 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 tap. Sexy 90s. I'm wearing a purple shirt. Let's open a little bit. Look at me doing sexy things on a computer. Meanwhile, the guy from the Boondock Saints, who is awful, and Omar Epps, who is awful, and some other character actor in an ill-fitting wig are like wandering around trying to be all intimidating. Omar Epps is like, yeah, I'm a square pair of sunglasses away from being the hippest cat in Groovetown. I'm like, you look like a fool. All these guys, and they're all like, yeah, how about, it's almost like they went into the wardrobe and they were like, so we've got a couple of long coats, we thought maybe one of you could like wear a long coat. Long coats are kind of like sexy, mysterious, and they all went, yeah, we'd all like long coats, please. We'd all like to be sexy, mysterious, please. Can we all have like long coats and bright shirts and weird shaped sunglasses and gel black hair, and how about we all like are really good at computers? Like, it's awful. And then what gets utterly stupid, right, is that it's all driven by what's her name, the bird who might as well be a fucking like Esposito, whatever her name was. She was another one who died in the 90s. Like, what has happened to her? Thankfully, nothing of any interest. So she's another one like lost to the annals of time, where you're like, for a moment there, people thought she was hot and interesting, but that clearly waned very quickly. So she's like, oh, you know, they go in, right? There's like fucking skulls and garlic and crosses everywhere, and she's all like, well, you know, you would do this if you were trying to hide millions of dollars. I'm like, no, I'd put it in a bank. But all right. Whatever. So she's like, well, he's an antique dealer. He might have an expensive painting. Yeah, because like any of you would know what to do with that. So anyway, they go through a door, which is also a giant crucifix. There are more like daggers and skulls. All the while, the hip cats from Groovetown are like, well, I don't know about this, because there seem to be a lot of skulls about. And she's like, and even Omar Epps turns around and Omar Epps goes, it's a big ruse, yeah? Like, this is all like a groovy plan, man. Like, you have to understand that whatever in this massive coffin we've just found, another coffin that's covered in crucifixes and made out of silver, whatever's in this, man, this is like valuable. And all this other stuff, this is just like a haunted house, spooky. I'm like, oh, can someone kill Omar Epps for me very quickly, please? So they abscond with a coffin. I mean, I understand, but like there's writing flights of fancy, and then there's just bollocks.
See, can I just jump in very quickly?
Sure.
And look, I don't relish having to say this, But I thought that was quite neat at the time. I remember thinking...
Oh, no. When I first watched this, I remember going, oh, that's kind of funny and cool.
Right.
Now with some kind of hindsight, I'm like, was I...
Okay, look, I agree. Here's the thing, right? Clearly, watching Dracula 2000 with like rock bottom expectations, because you know, okay, here's the thing about Dracula 2000, right? You know, sometimes you can watch films and you go, I don't mind like cheap films and that are a bit silly and they don't really make much sense. As long as I've got someone in it that I like and there's a plot going on, I can pretty much sit through anything. And then, you get like half an hour into a film and you think, oh no, it turns out I can't sit through just anything. Some films are so bad, I can't sit through them.
Yeah.
And you realise how difficult sometimes it is just to make a film that will hold somebody's attention from the beginning through to the end.
I think it's even harder than that. It's not necessarily about holding my attention. There are films that are, I don't like using the word bad, but there are films that are flawed, that are for budgetary reasons or for casting reasons or for re-editing reasons or whatever it is, that despite their flaws are entertaining. It's not just about holding my attention, are entertaining, right? There are B movies with a bunch of cliches in it and a bunch of madness.
Sure, but I think...
that are like generally entertaining and have something about them that kind of rollicks along and you're like, all right, I know that's a honky effect and I know that that's like a badly edited sequence, but they had no money, give them a break, here we go, enjoy the movie. And you kind of like relish the cliches. And then there are movies that, and I'm sorry Dracula 2000 falls into this, that clearly have a budget, enough to kind of do all the stuff that they do in the movie, and have an intention and a script and all the rest of it. And it's not that it doesn't hold my attention, because it held my attention throughout the whole thing. Like I was watching the whole thing. At no point was I like, all right, I'm going to turn this off, it's that bad. But at no point does it have that indefinable quality of, even though this isn't very good and there's lots of stuff in it that's sort of actually a bit laughable, it's actually enjoying its cliches, it's actually relishing in its cliches, and it's actually elevating itself
I agree with you.
above its...
I'm not arguing with you that I was hoping for the film that you're talking about, which is that lost little gem, the thing that actually has got a good heart and a good spirit, and actually there's some generally talented people involved, and you can't hide charisma, and sometimes you just need charisma, a bit of charisma and a good script, and that'll take you quite a long way. And I won't deny that Dracula 2000 doesn't have a whole lot of charisma, at least outside of Plummer and Miller, who were in it far too little for my liking.
Right.
Far too much Butler and Epps and Bland Shoesbird, Virgin Megastore.
And Nathan Fillion in like 2 extended scenes that was just weird.
No, there was literally no... Of all the things that could have been happening in the film, I don't understand why those scenes were even in there.
It was
a bit of like mother background, I guess.
It was to add mystery to the whole like mother thing, so that when it's revealed that somehow Van Helsing is her father, which was sort of a bit mad, because it's like, well, how old was he when... If she's only like 20 something, was he like 80 when they knobbed? Like, how long's he been around? He's been around generations, so like what, like crusty old Plumber found some bird, and like at what age was the mother? Like, was the mother like...
Well, I feel like they given that he's supposed to be living forever through the blood of Dracula,
right?
I think probably
he's still an old dude,
but probably in the script he was probably only like, because he presumably the idea is he would be the same age now as he was back then.
Right, in his late 60s, by the look.
Right, what I'm saying is maybe in the script he's more like in his 40s or his 50s. You know what I mean? In other words, whenever he had Virgin Megastore, he would have been the same age as he is now. So like whatever, in his late 60s, which is a bit icky. But
because his mum, even if we give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she had her at 40 years old,
that was like irrelevant. It's like because the whole like, Butler's got to get with this bird. He's got to cross the oceans to get to her. It's like, but why? Oh, because she's got his blood and she wasn't supposed to be born, or some bollocks they couldn't even be bothered to go into because they probably had one meeting about it and realised it was total shash and abandoned it. So I don't really know why she has to be anybody's daughter or why, but I could just get like lost in New Orleans and I don't know. It doesn't need to have that thing to it because
also
it's just confusing.
it's the only. Also, it commits.
But like,
no. Hang on a second.
dies off screen.
It commits. Yeah, no. Right. It commits so many cardinal sins. I don't know where to begin. But one of the main ones is you have a vampire. Even if it has to be Butler, you have a vampire in New Orleans, and you make New Orleans look awful. Like there are so many ways, and you don't even need a budget because clearly they were in New Orleans.
No, but they make it like a 90s music video, don't they? There's a bit where Butler stops, looks up at a Virgin Megastore screen where there's some bloody awful like grunge band playing, and
like Marilyn Manson style
intriguing.
thing.
Or what the fuck does he say?
No, it's like a Marilyn Manson thing, and they're doing like lots of imagery of like.
Right, but he looks at it, he says like, oh, intriguing or wonderful or I don't know something, but he's he super impressed by this garbage band,
right?
You know, and not in a 90s, garbage the band.
No, but this is my point. Is like when you go to New Orleans, but I even felt this from having seen movies set in New Orleans before. The whole like Bourbon Street experience, where everyone's like wearing beads and flashing their tits and dancing all night and da 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 da. Like, it's not that it's like it's a 24-hour party. It's like there's something like seedy and grimy about that. And yes, there are people enjoying themselves, and yes, people are happy. But like at the same time, they're doing it amongst the sort of like crumbly buildings that are kind of running with.
But I blame the producers for that because, like, again, all the things you're saying, which are, sending it to New Orleans makes sense, and like going from like swampy London to New Orleans is like that's a cool move. But ultimately, if whoever made it was like, no, we need to make this needs to appeal to kids. So it needs to look like a fucking music video. So everything that happens in one just looks like a music, but it all looks like those like Bacardi adverts from the 90s. Right. I mean, like that's what it looks like, and that's all they're going for. So look, I don't disagree that it's balls, right? But I'm saying that I had really not very high expectations of Dracula 2000 with Gerard Butler as Dracula. What I thought was it might be quite fun, and it might be a bit weird and like possibly even places a bit kind of amusing because it's like weird and campy, and it was all of those things.
It's not weird and campy. It's
bits
not
of
good
it
enough
are weird
to be
and campy.
weird and
well
campy.
Bits of it are weird and campy.
Which bits?
Alright, you got me on the spot now. Which bits are weird and campy?
I mean, this is a film that includes a woman and I forget the name of the actor. She's in Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
blonde.
Jerry Ryan.
Right, Jerry Ryan, right? And it's clear who she's meant to be, right? And what she's doing out there, and da-da-da-da. And it actually includes the embarrassing line, have you got my face? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I should preface this. She's on camera as like a news reporter, like a bubble-headed, blonde, big-titted news reporter. And she actually says to the cameraman, like, have you got the face? And he's like, yeah. Have you got the tits? Like, that's actually a scene in this film where Jerry Ryan laughs about her.
Obviously, the more you make me talk about it, the more I'm going to not like it because it wasn't good. But I'm just saying, I was sat there last night watching Dracula 2000, thinking this is quite fun. I'm quite enjoying this, and that is all I have to say.
Right.
Because obviously it was rubbish. And I think,
my experience
but I think you're right. I think there was a good script there somewhere underneath all of it. But somebody made them cast. I blame Wes Craven because if anybody, what's the point in having Wes Craven presents above your movie if he's not going to fight for better decisions?
Right.
Who the fuck fought against the Virgin Megastore idea? Who the fuck fought against Gerard Butler as Dracula? Who the fuck fought against we're going to film New Orleans like any music video / Bacardi advert from the last 5 years? Like, these are all obviously terrible decisions, right? That all they had to do was like call up Craven and go, Wes, they're making us like make it all about the Virgin Megastore. And if Craven's just gone, I'm Wes Craven, I just made Scream, I'm hot for the first... Like, either he went, I'm hot for the first time in 10 years, so I'm either going to pimp my name around for extra coin, or I'm going to use it to like help people make good films. And he blatantly pimped it for extra coin.
Of course.
He wasn't... He might have picked up the phone to Christopher Plummer, maybe.
Right.
But that's about it.
But
what the fuck is the point of putting his name in it? I don't know what.
So very
he could
quickly, because
possibly
I don't necessarily want to go down the Weinstein rabbit hole, but
we shouldn't go down the Weinstein.
This is a Miramax movie from the late 90s, early 2000s, and one of the things that has come out lately, apart from the horrible, horrendous, another old, powerful, white, flabby, obnoxious cock of a human being has gone around being assaulting and raping and various other things, allegedly. The other thing that kind of came out about him was how trigger happy he was with like editing movies,
right?
And how much he would cut out.
Well, yeah, that was pretty
And I'm not sure.
known.
No, but I'm not sure that I was aware of that.
I was aware of that because I know that they. I can't remember, he had some nickname or something for like how much he used to chop up the films.
Well, yeah, they used to call him like Harvey Scissorhands.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
But like, I've only heard that recently, and it might just be because people are digging up stories about him from the past, and maybe it was the fact that I just didn't read a lot into it.
I agree.
I always knew he was like an obnoxious bulldog. I always got that, but I didn't understand. I also didn't realize like how much he re-edited shit to put it out there. I always thought that he kind of, like a lot of, I always thought he was like the bulldog behind the creative person. So like he kind of gave people the creative freedom to kind of make the films they wanted to make while he went around being an arsehole making the deals. Like that's how I always thought of him. I didn't realize that some of the movies that came out of Miramax, you know, he grubbily put his mitts all over.
Well, I mean, the thing he did was with...
and I'm just saying, I wonder if a lot of those decisions...
The classic example is Scream 4. Scream 4 was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy. What's his face? The guy that wrote it. Williamson came back and like called up Wes Craven and went, look, I've had an idea for a new trilogy. It's about, you know, horror movies now and how they're different and the rest of it. And Wes Craven was not that keen, but then he read the script and went, this is really good, we should do this. And even though Scream 3 ended really badly because they fired Williamson off that and they brought in a hack, the same guy that wrote fucking Brothers Grimm, like a total hack.
Isn't it Aaron Kruger?
Aaron Kruger, right, total hack. And like rewrote the script to make it, you know, more commercial and less brainy, because that's what made Scream popular, right? Anyway, so Scream 4, they all got together, they all were all in, and then Weinstein did it again. He fired Williamson halfway through the picture, brought in the other guy to rewrite the film the way that he thought it should be done, got rid of all the brainy stuff
I didn't know any of
that made Wes Craven want to, so it just like sucked all the life out of it for everybody involved. They're like, oh, so the film that we all signed on for that wasn't just going to be like a cash grab empty sequel, was actually going to have something interesting to say, has been completely gutted and turned into a cash grab sequel with nothing to say.
Right. No, I just wondered, like, it was weird, certainly in the aftermath of all that's been going on, which obviously we utterly condemn, to watch this film and it be a Miramax movie and look at it and go, just with some hindsight, and go, I wonder if some of these like outrageously bad decisions weren't his. Because they're like, well, if we're going to pump out a straight-to-video, and this was pretty much straight-to-video thing, let's make a shitty Dracula with Gerard, sexy shitty Dracula.
But no, I disagree.
And slap Wes Craven's
the
name
idea, the idea behind it, especially that ending, is presumably they thought they were going to launch a new franchise. Like that was the idea behind it. That's
well, they did. There's 2 more movies.
Yeah, but not with Butler as Dracula and.
No, but
and not her in it either.
No, but one of the characters does come back.
I'm sure, you know.
I did look into it. One of the characters does come back. Because they made a trilogy, essentially.
But clearly that was the idea to begin with.
Well, the idea was to set up
like
Van Helsing, the Vampire Slayer.
Daughter, right?
The Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but Van Helsing the Vampire Slayer.
So, that's all fine.
Which is also another thing, right? So, Johnny Lee Miller goes throughout the entire movie wearing a leather jacket because he's like. The other thing that I realised is Johnny Lee Miller is essentially Lovejoy. Like, that's essentially what he is.
Yeah, that's
Johnny Lee Miller is essentially Lovejoy. He even has the horrible quip halfway through the movie. It's like, don't fuck with an antiques dealer.
So again,
which is like,
I quite like that.
It was awful. Like, you could see the pain on Lee Miller's face having to say that line.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it coming out of his mouth going, help me. Like, you could see it. But he's essentially Lovejoy. He's like the roguish antique dealer with the leather jacket and blah, 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 blah. And what made me, again, howl with derisive laughter, which is not my usual state while watching a movie, is the fact that at the end of the movie, when she's decided to like take up her father's mantle, even though she never met him and knows nothing about him, she just makes this decision. The way it's denoted is, well, of course, now she's in leather pants. She's going to walk along the streets of London wearing leather pants with Johnny Leather Lee Miller next to her. And I'm like, really? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It wasn't good.
It wasn't good, but old balls.
It wasn't good, but
it was awful.
I enjoyed watching it.
No, I get it. I do get it.
And there was enough in there that I didn't consider the time wasted. Even though obviously it could have been better, but there were
right, but I wouldn't suggest anybody revisit either of these two movies. Like, let your memories be your memories. If you have fond memories of either of these movies, do not rewatch them. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I had like schlocky B-movie happy memories of these two movies, and I feel like revisiting them has completely sullied both films for me.
Well, I'm glad I got to visit the schlocky one once, so I could just enjoy it being schlocky.
Right.
But
it's not even.
I wasn't super. Here's the thing.
It's not even enjoyable enough to call it schlock.
But the
like,
last
schlock
time,
is enjoyable.
But the last. No, I agree. I'm just saying that was my experience. No, I can't go back to it. That was entirely the point that I was making.
I understand.
If I go back to it, it won't be schlock anymore.
I understand.
But right now, in my memory, it is schlock.
Yeah.
What was weird about Coppola's Dracula, to finish on that, maybe, what was weird about that was, while I was watching, I was thinking, oh yeah, Hopkins is an awful ham that outside of Silence of the Lambs, like at a certain point in his career, he just like stopped.
Even in Silence of the Lambs, he's a horrible ham.
Yeah, but it's a good movie though. Anyway.
That's another movie that gets way too much.
No, I have to disagree with you violently. I mean, actually, I disagree with you on Eternal Sunshine too, but Silence of the Lambs is just a great movie.
Silence of the Lambs is a schlocky B movie that was elevated by...
It doesn't matter. If it's done...
As a schlocky B movie, it's a ton of fun, but it's not like the classic of cinema that everyone...
I have to say, I think that sometimes things that are essentially schlocky B movies can become classic in cinema if they come along at the right time and they hit the right note and they like it
sure, I get it.
Resonates with people in a way that can't immediately put your finger on. It's like, there's a reason why even now it's like, serial killers being consulted by police officers and weird serial killer movies and weird consultants and all that. It all came from that movie.
Right.
Like, launched this like a fucking industry of cinema on the basis when you watch it again, it's actually a very simple film that is, if anything, concerned more than anything. We watch it again, which is kind of cool and interesting, with faces. There's so many like close-ups. But not in a like a moody way, but like straight on, like they're talking to the camera, like it's a video diagram. Anyway. Forgetting all that. The point is, when I was watching it, the last time I saw Coppola's Dracula, I remember thinking, it's a great film. It's really cool. It's a big melodramatic statement. It's romantic. It's sexy. It's bloody. It's cool. It's got everything. I really like it. I'm watching it again this time. I had the same reaction as you, which is this is a mess. And all the way through, I knew, even before sitting down, why it was a mess. I knew that Reeves and Ryder were unwatchable. I knew that Hopkins was a terrible ham. I knew that it was a bit of a mess and all over the place. But I didn't really. The last time I watched it, those things seemed to add up to being a good movie. And this time, instead, they added up to like what I feel is a truthful experience of it, which is that it's a bit of a mess. And I understand why it was a mess. And I even like the way that he tried to fix his movie.
Right.
he didn't just give up. He went the other way. You know, he gave it everything he had, which results in it being a mess. But I have to admire.
He gave into his film student leanings, and Coppola does have a lot of that. Like the trouble with Coppola is, at his best, he is a very, very interesting visionary director with a shit ton of ideas, right? And knows where to put the camera and knows how to get great performances. And at his worst, he's like Anthony Hopkins. He's a hammy director. He's a film student.
Outside of this, what else has he done that's like this hammy?
Almost everything he's made since this. Like that I'm not going to like necessarily...
No, but I can't think of any. I generally can't think of
Most people would say Godfather 3 is.
Okay, but I haven't... Sure, okay.
I'm trying to think of some others, but
because I mean, like he hasn't made that many. Like Rainmaker, that was quite good, but that's just a pretty straight-ahead John Grisham film. He made that one with Val Kilmer, which I quite liked. Actually,
do you know his idea for that?
What?
They were again talking about this on the In the Mouth of Darkness podcast. They were saying that the idea originally was that he was going to go from cinema to cinema and live edit it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So that each time you saw it would be a different movie. Now, to say that out loud, you're like, oh, that's kind of like a crazy, wacky idea, and modern technology might actually make that possible, and da-da-da-da-da. But, like, movies aren't meant to be, like, make-your-own adventure books, Coppola. Like, they're meant to be contained storytelling units.
Yeah, but I quite like that. I understand what you're saying. I don't...
I'm saying on one hand, I don't see the clever idea, and on the other hand, it's wanky schoolboy nonsense.
No, but it's not, is it? It's... I understand
film student, not schoolboy.
I understand where you're coming from, but that's not. In that case, that's not true, is it? That's guy who hasn't had a hit film in a long time, who can't scrape up the money or like the talent for anything except a low-budget horror film starring Val Kilmer, way past his prime. That's the best that he can do. You better believe he's going to have to come up with some fucking shitty marketing gimmick to make anybody give a crap.
Right.
And so I don't see that as arrogance.
No, I wasn't saying he was arrogant.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I never called him
or even
arrogant.
film student.
I think he just gives into his like base.
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure.
Spielberg and Scorsese do it as well. It's not just him.
No, I'm not saying that like you have it into Coppola. I'm just saying I think in the
my favourite film
example
of all time is Apocalypse Now.
In the example of this movie, I don't think he's giving into anything. I think he's throwing everything he's got so that it'll be an interesting movie for people to watch.
Right.
Because damn sight won't be a good movie with those two in it.
I accept that, but I also reject it. Meaning, I understand why you say it, and I could certainly get on board with some of that being the case. But there are way too many mistakes and indulgences to forgive it that because of that reason, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. I disagree. But
anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed our Horrotober series.
On Dracula bollocks.
I hope you've enjoyed our Scrotum of Draculas. I hope you've enjoyed us talking in general.
Instead of a fistful of dollars, it's a Scrotum
of Draculas. I would love it if you scurried over to patreon.com /AfterMovieDiner and sponsored the show, because whether it's with Jim or whether it's with some of my other friends, I will be producing some exclusive content for that.
Ooh, okay.
And I think for my Patreon followers only, you will get to hear the Bad Batch and Baby Driver episodes. I think one of the exclusive contents I'm going to put out there are those two podcasts.
Right.
And maybe even, because I recently found it on my phone, the Whoops Apocalypse.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I may put out some of our bad episodes.
Whoops Apocalypse wasn't bad, it was just despair.
Yeah, no, it was full of despair. No, I didn't mean it bad, because it was a joy to have Giles on the show. But what I'm trying to say is, if you sign up for Patreon for less than a cup of Starbucks coffee a month, you will also get a whole bunch of bonus footage and content that other people will not be getting, which will include music, videos, podcasts, and all other stuff, all manner of goblinry. and it'll be well worth your $4 a month.
Definitely. I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah.
That is it for us. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I wanna suck your blood.